All right, we are back. We are skipping to Chapter 8, which is Physical Education, Health, and Social Media. Uh, this is obviously a chapter that should be very relatable for all of you guys. I would say because of that, or at least one of the reasons, that this is going to be a short lecture is because you guys probably have way more experience than I do on social media. And I think a lot of the things that we go over in this chapter should be readily apparent to you guys. So while this lecture should be very short, you guys do have two separate assignments to do this week. So let's jump in. All right, so just an overview to start as we always do. So the text starts typically talking about a decline in health. It gives you more stats. Well, why do we have a decline in health? Well, we're less physically active. What are some of the reasons we're less physically active? Possibly related to a decreased amount of funding to the education sector. What could this lead to? This could and has been leading to, in some areas, less physical education classes. So instead of having phys ed 5 days a week, you might only have it twice a week. So not only are you less active, but another downside of this is that you have less education about being physically active. And more likely than not, if you don't know or you're not taught how to live a healthy lifestyle, you probably won't. So that's our grounds for saying educators need to change this. And one way we can change this is through innovation and the use of technology. Now, this isn't really different than many of the other aspects of the text so far, but this is the unique part where the text talks about applying a theory to help increase innovation and the use of technology. And the theory they use is social theory, which can be simply defined as creating learning experiences through social interaction. Um, the theory argues that members of a social group experience of a specific social group experience a more robust learning process when compared to individual learning. Now, this is not a whole truth and doesn't, for certain people, individual learning may be more beneficial, but proponents of this theory seems to think that this social experience can really enhance the learning process. And you guys see this in the classroom. Forget technology, forget online learning experiences, right? We as educators try to give you guys social experiences. One example might be the use of a lab, right? So if I break you guys up into groups of 3 or 4, then you guys are supposed to go do a lab with each other, right? It's not just the hands-on experience that increases the learning environment. It's also that social experience of working with a peer, communicating with each other on what each of you guys do not know and what you guys each do know, and kind of working together to increase that retention of the material. Another example of applying social learning theory is the use of study groups, right? So oftentimes people will kind of collaborate, or students will collaborate and get together in groups of 3, 5, 6 people and just study for a midterm or an exam. And this helps enhance that learning experience. I wouldn't say it's meant to totally replace individual studying and reading, but it can help enhance that. So then the text goes into some research on technology, and some of these I think are pretty cool. One, it starts with talking about this Foursquare tool, which was a long-term behavior change tool. Some examples of how it can be applied is the cessation of smoking or for something like weight loss. And the tool itself had 3 aspects to it. All right, so it had check-ins, and this is a technology tool. Check-ins, badges, and tips. So this can be applied to something like a weight loss journey. So let's say you're going to look for food, you look in this specific tool, and it can give you check in at a specific restaurant, for instance. Well, maybe the tool can rate the restaurant in terms of its strength for a healthy nutrition, right? Maybe it can rate it as weak, moderate, or strong, or something along those lines. And then based on your check-ins, you can have specific badges, right? So you can get badges for being at, I don't know, 3 healthy restaurants or 3 healthy nutrition choices per week, 5 per week, or a total of 50 for the month, whatever it is. And then in addition to that, right, throughout this kind of journey, you can get random tips about specific locations or tips about like healthy food choices. And we see this all the time. So for, your book is a little outdated, very outdated in some regards, but we see tips like this with things like my Fitness Pal all the time. A lot of people have used my Fitness Pal to help log food, and not only can you check in, but the app itself can kind of update you with healthy food choices. Or if any of you guys use any of like an Apple Watch as a fitness tracker, right? There's plenty of tips that can kind of pop up and provide you with information to make healthy alternatives. The next one is called a media annotation tool, right? And again, it's funny how the text is slightly outdated and how this new technology is just readily used now. But a media annotation tool is essentially the ability to add comments to media products. So, well, let me go on first. And this is based on the multimedia principle, where they believe people learn better from words with pictures than simply words alone, right? So the clearest example of this is social media. So many of us will use social media as a learning tool. I would argue that more people are more likely to use something like YouTube, but I know plenty of people that will go to experts on something like Instagram or possibly Twitter and will look for information about specific topics on these platforms. Now, where can they learn? Well, what you'll see is from some of these experts in the comments section of something like Instagram, you will see the experts giving out information where people will ask a question and the expert will answer that question. That is one aspect of a media annotation tool that we use on a very everyday basis. Another aspect is it's not necessarily a media annotation tool, but with regards to social media like TikTok and Instagram now, where you will see a lot of influencers, right? Influencers will be applying the multimedia principle when they're putting out content. They will have captions pop up where, like, I don't know if they're talking about weight loss or something, they'll have like six reasons for weight loss, and they'll point in the corner, and then the words will pop up, 1, 2, 3, right? And this is a clear example of using the multimedia principle where people learn better with words and pictures or videos. And I absolutely agree with this use. Like myself, when I'm reading and watching some type of Instagram video, I'll see a lot of these pop up on social media. All right, the last one here is podcasts, and students rated podcasts highly for enriching the learning process. I just listed a few podcasts that I often use in classes like exercise physiology or biomechanics, but just like with social media, students will often go to podcasts for their knowledge. Stronger by Science and Iron Culture are two podcasts that we use in X-Phys. We will be using in X-Physiology too. So your textbook then goes into some stats on media and technology usage. And as I've said before, your book is very redundant. It gives a lot of stats on the same subjects repeatedly. Some of it's the use of technology, some of it's obesity trends. But we're going to go over these again for a reason, because it's going to be part of your assignment. So 2/3 of internet users participate in social media networks. 75% of teenagers have a phone, right? And then finally, children and adolescents ages 8 to 18 average 44 hours of media use per week. And I bolded media for the reason that we're not just talking about social media. We're not talking about Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're talking about really any form of communication or use of technology. So this could be like texting on your phone. It could be FaceTiming. It could be watching television, movies, things like that. We would have that fall under the broad category of media. Now, I think this information is very outdated. I think these numbers are much higher. Now, I could be wrong. This is my opinion. But what I want to do is I'm going to use some technology to kind of get to the bottom of this. All right. So what I want you guys to do is create a SurveyMonkey poll. So you're going to create a poll, and I want your poll to address at minimum the 3 statistics above here. So I kind of left it open. I'm not going to give you the questions I want you to ask, but I want you to address these 3 questions to the best of your ability, right? I want to know how many people or how many teenagers, right, or it doesn't just have to be teenagers. I wrote a minimum of 30 participants ages 13 to 25, and I want to know how many of them have a phone, because in my opinion, this number is way, way higher than 75%. It's probably like 90 to 95% is my guess. But what we're going to do is each of you are going to pull a minimum of 30 people. Then we can pool our data together, and we can kind of get to the bottom of this. What I would like you to do is submit a screenshot, both of the results, and I want you to submit a screenshot of the questions, because I want to make sure your questions are appropriately addressing these stats. Include details about what media is, so they have a clear understanding of it. For example, in my phone, I can go to settings. After going to settings, I can check my screen time and figure out how many hours I have of media use. Again, this is per week. We're not talking about media use per day. We're not talking about just social media use. So just myself alone, I average 46 hours of media use on my phone per week. Now, I don't watch a lot of TV, but if you combine TV maybe with the radio when I'm driving into work, I mean, I can tell you right now, my number is well above 50. So make sure you're clear on that question. And I would encourage people to check their phones when you're asking that question. All right. Again, submit a screenshot for both the results and the questions. All right. Benefits and challenges of social media. So there are a lot of benefits, and again, we have went in this direction, right? Some of the benefits are there's more engagement, right? There is inspired creativity, and we've seen it nowadays. It's incredible. I was just talking 2 days ago about how you can monetize platforms with a student, and I'm learning because I don't know. I guarantee you guys in this classroom probably know more than me about monetizing platforms, and people are looking for these very creative, innovative ways to engage specific audiences. So it absolutely inspires creativity. The integration of technology and social interaction, and that's kind of what this text is about. We're utilizing technology in new, fun ways. We're putting on certain, I don't know, people are editing videos, they're putting on music clips, and it really promotes social interaction with the use of technology. Now, that is not to say that there are not some challenges, especially as a physical educator, right? So, like, one example is, granted, I'm 37 years old. I have a decent grasp on social media and technology, but imagine, I don't know, a 50-year-old professor, a 50-year-old physical education teacher, right? They're going to really have to put some time into learning how to use some of these platforms. Another challenge is, as I said, not everyone has access to them. Now, again, I think that percentage of 75% of teenagers having a phone is way off. But again, what if it is only 90%? If 90% have a phone, what about that other 10%? What are you going to do for that? Number three. This is, I think, one that we've kind of settled to an extent, but I think as a professor, as an educator, if you are a physical educator, where do you draw the line with social media between personal and professional? So, for example, I have a social media page for my business, for my gym, called Multisport Workshop. Feel free to add me, right? Multisport Workshop is 95% content of gym health related activities. I mean, I would say 99%. And I make sure that platform is extremely professional. I don't put up videos of me out on the weekends. Well, granted, I don't go out on the weekends, but if I did, if I were the type of professional that still went out to the weekends and I still went to bars, because plenty of professionals do that, right? Would I put that on that page? No, I do not, right? I do not. I have a separate personal social media page that is meant for family members and close friends. And I think some people have struggled in the past on, well, on social media, do I allow students to follow me? And I think it's continuously changing, but I think you have to, in today's day and age, you have to be able to communicate with your students beyond just the classroom. And again, it's an interesting one in my opinion. Number 4 for social media is lack of personal contact. When I was grading some of your assignments a few weeks ago, I think many of you guys pointed out one of the flaws of technology, especially in the physical education world where we need contact. I think it's very, very important. Social media really should just be used as a supplement of that personal contact, or supplement to it. All right, and finally, your other major assignment, right? The other one I think should be easy, fun. The social media assignment shouldn't take you that long. Physical education plan. So how can you implement social media? Well, the text kind of outlined 3 steps you can use, right? So 1 would be creating a lesson plan, and then 2 would be identifying a social media clip to support and reinforce the concepts of your lesson plan. 3 is what I'm adding. I want you guys to use research to back up and confirm social media claims. If any of you have ever had me, you know how I feel about social media, in that it can be a great tool, but there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I think you guys as educators have to do a really good job of researching claims put forth. We can't just throw things out there because we believe them to be true. We have to confirm them to be true. So that's going to be part of this assignment. So what you're going to do is put together like a very, very short mock lesson plan, right? So what do you want to look at? So I don't know, maybe we want to look at obesity. So we're going to have our overarching goal of a lesson plan as if you were presenting it to students. So this plan is aimed at students, and it's going to say, I don't know, we're looking at obesity trends. This is why obesity is important. So we're going to have maybe 1 slide on stats. And then we talk about the mechanisms of obesity. What drives obesity? Maybe we talk about total daily energy expenditure. And from there we go on there's a slide on obesity prevention. So we talk about maybe healthy nutrition, total daily energy expenditure. We talk about increasing physical activity, monitoring caloric intake, maybe through apps like MyFitnessPal, whatever it is. And I'm just giving you an example. Now, that's essentially like a very short, brief, modified lesson plan. Then from there, what I want you to do is provide some sort of social media claim that supports the concepts that you're putting forth, right? So I just put in a YouTube video. You guys, I'll link it separately, talking about energy balance. Okay. Now I can't just put forth this video like it is a whole truth. I want to make sure that this is correct. So the video, I believe, is Lane Norton talking about energy balance and total daily energy expenditure and how important it is. From there, I went and got some research, and this paper is from Kevin Hall. He's a very well-known researcher on energy balance, and the title of this paper is Energy Balance and Its Components, Implications for Body Weight Regulation. Now, obviously, if you are an educator, especially if we're talking about like people in high school, we're probably not going to include some of this research within our lesson plan. But this is meant to make sure you can support claims and you can investigate to make sure that they are true based on research. We always want to be evidence-based practitioners. Okay, so this can be in a slide. You guys don't have to do any voiceovers. All right, let me be clear. This doesn't have to be any voiceovers. I want you to just understand how we can use social media in the classroom. So we got some slide. We go find a social media claim that helps back up what our lesson plan is. And then again, we want to prove that we can effectively investigate things that back up these claims. If you guys have any questions, if you're uncertain, just let me know. So it should essentially be 5 slides, 1, 2, and 3 with just some stats, how you would present to students. Slide 4 would just be a link to your social media. And then slide 5 would just be an APA link to the paper that is backing up the claims. The one thing I haven't said just yet is give me a quick summary of the paper. Do not copy and paste the abstract. Never copy and paste the abstract. I want you to summarize it in your own words. All right, that's it. I will see you guys next week.